A breakthrough for scientists after they had a 20-minute conversation with a humpback whale.
Deep in the ocean, a rare moment unfolds. Not a hunt, not a migration, but new life. And what scientists saw changed what we know about whales.
Deep in the open oceans, a rare moment unfolds. Not a hunt, not a migration, but a new life. And what scientists saw has changed what we know about whales.
Off a small Caribbean island, a machine heard something no human ever had. For years, scientists recorded the clicks of sperm whales, animals carrying the largest brain that has ever existed on Earth, and had no idea what was buried inside the sound. Then they fed it to artificial intelligence, and the AI found a structure hidden in the noise, the first hard evidence that these animals aren't just making sound. They're using something disturbingly close to language. We still haven't translated a single word, but what we've already uncovered about them turns out to be a story about us, and it is not a flattering one. Stay with me. To understand why this is so unsettling, you have to understand what a sperm whale actually is, because almost everything about it is built on a scale that doesn't feel real. It's longer than a school bus. It weighs more than 90,000 pounds. It plunges more than 1.5 miles straight down into total darkness, holds its breath for over an hour, and hunts giant squid in a black, crushing world where light has never reached, using nothing but sound. It produces the loudest sound of any animal on the planet to do it. And tucked inside that enormous square head sits a brain weighing around 7 kilograms, more than 5 times the size of yours. It is, by raw mass, the largest brain of any creature that has ever lived, anywhere, in the entire history of life on Earth. And here is the detail that should stop you before we even begin. These animals have been carrying brains like this for roughly 15 million years longer than human beings have existed. While our distant ancestors were still small creatures in the trees, the whales were already down there in the dark, thinking whatever it is that whales think. So the real question was never whether there was a mind down there. The question was whether we would ever be able to hear what that mind sounded like. For all of recorded history, the answer was no, until 2024. Sperm whales communicate in tight bursts of clicks called codes, rapid little rhythms, anywhere from 3 to 40 clicks fired off in a fraction of a second. We've been able to hear these codas for decades, and we never cracked them because the problem wasn't volume, it was scale and subtlety. The patterns came too fast, in too many variations, for a human ear to track. Even a few minutes of recordings could take a trained researcher hours to catalog by hand. It was like being handed a library written in an alphabet you couldn't see. So a marine biologist named Shane Giro, who had spent years patiently following a single extended family of whales off the island of Dominica, did something that changed the entire field. He partnered with artificial intelligence researchers at MIT and helped build Project CETI, the Cetacean Translation Initiative, and they aimed modern machine learning straight into the deep. What the algorithms pulled back out is the first loop I need you to hold on to, because it quietly opens a second, bigger mystery we are going to return to. The question of who taught these whales to speak in the first place. The AI tore through more than 9,000 codas collected from a clan of Caribbean whales, far more clicks than any human team could ever have segmented by hand. And what it found was the opposite of random noise. The codas had internal structure. The whales were deliberately bending the tempo, speeding up and slowing down their delivery, a feature so musical the team borrowed the term and called it rubato. They were adding little flourishes of extra clicks the researchers named ornamentation. And these features didn't just exist side by side, they combined. When the machine mapped every combination of rhythm, tempo, and ornament, it counted at least 156 distinct codas, and the structure shifted depending on the conversation the whales were having. The researchers gave the discovery a name that should make the hair on your arms stand up: a sperm whale phonetic alphabet. Sit with that one word, phonetic. Because the way human beings build language is by taking a small handful of fundamentally meaningless sounds and combining them into a nearly infinite number of meanings. That combinatorial trick, the ability to assemble big meaning out of small meaningless pieces, was supposed to be ours, and ours alone. It was the thing we pointed to. And now the AI was demonstrating that sperm whales possess a system with the same structural features as the most sophisticated communication in the animal kingdom, one the scientists said could represent a vast space of possible meanings. One of the project's founders put it about as plainly as a scientist ever will. We are now finding the first building blocks of whale language. And keep this in your mind too, because the very next finding is the one that breaks the wall between us and them entirely. In a follow-up analysis, the CETI team discovered that buried inside those codas were sound elements that behave like human vowels, the open, resonant tones that carry words in nearly every language on Earth. Two completely separate branches of life, an ape and a deep-diving whale, divided by tens of millions of years of evolution, both independently arrived at the same fundamental solution for encoding meaning into sound. Either that is the single greatest coincidence in all of biology, or there is something about the deep structure of language itself that is far bigger than humanity, something the universe keeps reinventing, and we simply assumed we were the only ones who'd ever found it. And that is the exact point where this stops being a story about whales. Because here is the turn, and the turn is the whole reason for this video. Everything I've told you so far is wonder, and wonder was never the destination. For nearly all of human history, we told ourselves one deeply comforting story, that complex language is the bright, clean line that separates us from every other living thing, the thing that makes us special, and quietly, the thing that grants us the right to do whatever we please to everything below that line. The machine just erased the line, and the instant it did, a far darker fact snapped into focus. What we did to the other mind in the room. During all those centuries, we still believed we were alone in it. For most of our history, we looked at these animals and saw a product. The reason it's even called a sperm whale is the waxy oil packed inside its head, spermaceti, which we burned in lamps and rendered into candles and lubricants. In the 19th century, sperm whaling was a global industry, the very one immortalized in Moby Dick, and we killed these creatures by the hundreds of thousands, harpoon by harpoon, to light our rooms before electricity. We did this to an animal whose brain is dense with spindle neurons, the same rare, specialized cells tied in human beings to reasoning, memory, and empathy. We used to believe those cells were almost exclusively ours. They are in the whales too. And the evidence suggests these animals genuinely feel, that they are capable of empathy, of grief, of sadness. When one of them is wounded, the rest of the pod will gather around it, bodies turned outward, flukes facing the threat, forming a living shield around the one who can't defend itself. Now I can finally close the loop I opened at the start, who taught them to speak. Sperm whales live in extended families, grandmothers, mothers, aunts, and calves bonded for life. Different clans speak in different dialects, and those dialects are learned, handed down from one generation to the next. That is not instinct. That is culture. The exact codas a calf grows up clicking are the codas its mother and its grandmother clicked before it, which means that every harpooned matriarch was never just a dead animal. She may have been a living library, a dialect, a body of knowledge, an entire way of speaking that existed nowhere else on Earth and could never be recovered. We may have been driving whole whale cultures and languages into extinction for over a century, and we never knew because we could not hear them. It took a machine to finally show us what we had already been silencing. That is what the whales are saying about us. Not in words we've translated. And the honest researchers will tell you this directly. We still do not know what any single coda actually means. We've decoded the structure, not the dictionary. But you do not need the dictionary to feel the weight of it. What this entire project really decoded was never a whale message. It was a human assumption. There was another mind in the dark the entire time, with its own alphabet, its own vowels, its own families and dialects and grief. And we called it lamp oil. The terrifying part was never that the whales might be talking. It's that they always were, and we simply decided it didn't count. So here's the question I can't shake, and I'll hand it to you. We built a machine to think for us, and the very first thing it did when we pointed it at the ocean was force us to hear a voice we had spent centuries pretending wasn't there. What else are we doing that to right now? What other minds are speaking in a structure we just haven't trained ourselves to listen for? The whales have been talking for 15 million years. We've been listening for about 10. If that landed for you the way it landed for me, subscribe and stay close. The vault is going deeper on the next one, and the dark is a great deal more crowded than we were ever told. I'll see you there.